The Witcher 3 is a game about coming to terms with the harsh reality of life. In Crookback Bog we encounter peasants who sacrifice their children to the crones in order to survive. In Novigrad we learn that prejudice is a normal facet of human existence, especially in times of war. And when we come across the Witcher, Gaten, in Onarton, it's made clear that humans can be just as deadly as monsters for witchers. In this video I want to focus on the small details in The Witcher 3 that attribute to the game's somber and sometimes even depressing atmosphere. Religion is a part of everyday life for most in the world of The Witcher. However, prayers go unanswered. The gods do not help their worshippers, let alone speak to them. Save one. The All-God, who in truth is a Sylvan, is a local deity in Velen. Geralt of Rivia encounters the All-God after being entreated by some local peasants to negotiate better terms with him. You see, the All-God cursed the peasants for not giving him suitable offerings. Given the war, the peasants were in no position to make their usual bountiful sacrifices. Nonetheless, the All-God demands that the Witcher tell the peasants to offer him the usual amount. So you can choose either to kill him, threaten him into submission, or simply leave and tell the peasants above to look beneath the hill. Indeed, if you choose the latter option, a few days later, it appears the villagers did venture beneath the hillock into the Sylvan's hideout. The entrance to the Sylvan's hideout appears to be blocked with bricks. Perhaps this was the angry peasants doing. Also, there seems to be a pool of blood in the ruins. Perhaps there was a fight and maybe either the Sylvan or the peasants were wounded. Some have reported that a few weeks after the event you can find the dead bodies of the peasants in the ruins, but unfortunately I didn't come across that in my playthrough, so I'm not entirely sure if that's true. Either way, the evidence seems to suggest that the Sylvan did get away and that he wounded, if not killed, one or two of the peasants in his escape. Moritz is a mage encountered in the quest A Matter of Life and Death. Unlike most of the other mages and alchemists in Novigrad, he refused to trust Triss and escape from Novigrad by ship. So, shortly after completing A Matter of Life and Death, you can find Moritz being burned alive outside the Glory Gate. You can choose to let him die, or you can intervene. The Witcher 1 is probably a game unfamiliar to most who've picked up The Witcher 3. It's a far less popular title, but as you'd expect, there are callbacks to the first game in The Witcher 3. For instance, outside Kaer Morhen, near an iron mine, you can find the grave of Leo, a former trainee Witcher at Kaer Morhen. Leo knew Geralt in his early days, but unlike the White Wolf, he never completed his training, nor did he undergo his mutations. Leo was fatally shot by the Professor, a villain who was a member of the Salamandras, a group hostile to witches, and who stole the Wolf School's secrets of mutagenic substances and stimulants. Leo's death was unnecessary and avoidable, something Geralt notes when he visits the man's grave.
Leo's grave. A senseless death. Could have been avoided.
Elves are a dying breed in the world of The Witcher. They once dominated the continent from head to toe. Their civilization was a beautiful one. They built lavish cities, cultivated lush gardens, and for the most part coexisted with the first humans. However, the peace between elves and humanity didn't last. From the north to the south, the elves were steadily driven east to the mountains. This is true too in Toussaint, where we can find an ancient letter written by an elf. The letter details what seems to be the beginnings of the deterioration in human-elf relations. The writer speaks highly of the humans, but worries that the establishment of a human village on sacred elf territory might lead to conflict. Of course, we know that this elf's worst fear came to be true. By the time of The Witcher 3, the elves are now a shadow of their former selves. It's saddening because reading the letter, we see that this was a precipice in history, a turning point for the worse. The conflict between men and elves wasn't inevitable, rather it was entirely unnecessary and unavoidable. Gert is an average peasant, but he claims to have a unique ability to stave off disease. This explains why Geralt finds him hauling corpses down the road in Velen. Most would keep their distance, dumping the dead bodies at the earliest possible convenience. Well, it transpires that this peasant was not so immune after all. A few weeks after this quest, the witch will find Gert begging for death, having come down with the plague. You can choose to either mercy kill him or leave him to suffer. No doubt if you do so, he'll be eaten by a ghoul or some such. So there you have it, 5 depressing details that add to The Witcher 3's depressing ambience. Don't get me wrong, when I say depressing, I don't mean this in a pejorative way. The reason The Witcher 3 is so compelling is because it feels realistic. These small details, the things that bring home the realities of existence in a medieval society, are what make this game amazing. depressing. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. Leave suggestions for future videos in the comments below. I make videos on The Witcher, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.